The jungle was alive with sound. Birds called from the high branches, insects buzzed in the thick air, and leaves moved as if whispering secrets of the past. Aaron pushed aside a curtain of vines and stepped into a clearing he had never seen before. His boots sank into the soft soil and sweat rolled down his face, but his eyes were filled with curiosity. He had followed the markings on old maps for weeks, certain that something waited here, something forgotten. In the middle of the clearing, half covered by roots and moss, stood a mound of stone. At first it looked like nothing more than broken ruins, but as Aaron walked closer, he noticed the shape of a doorway hidden under layers of earth. His heart began to beat faster. He brushed away vines with his hands and saw faint carvings on the stone, lines and circles that reminded him of the Mayan symbols he had studied in books. Aaron set down his bag and pulled out a small lantern. The jungle light was fading, and the doorway led into darkness. He touched the carvings one more time, almost feeling the work of hands that had shaped them long ago. With a slow push, he stepped inside. The air inside was cooler but heavy with the smell of damp stone. The walls were covered in carvings, every inch filled with patterns of stars, moons, and figures standing under a blood-red circle in the sky. Aaron held up his lantern, letting the glow chase away the shadows. He walked carefully, each step echoing against the floor. The passage opened into a wide chamber, larger than any room he had seen in ruins before. The ceiling arched high, supported by stone columns shaped like twisting serpents. At the center of the chamber stood an altar made of gold. But this was not normal gold. Its surface seemed to shimmer with a faint red glow, as if fire burned deep inside the metal. Aaron froze, staring at it in awe. He walked closer, each step slow and careful. The altar was shaped like a flat table with symbols carved into its sides. Above it, carved into the stone wall, was the image of a great moon painted red with rays stretching outward. Figures of people were shown kneeling before it, their arms lifted high. Aaron placed his lantern on the ground and reached out to touch the surface of the altar. The gold felt warm under his hand, far warmer than stone should have been after centuries hidden in the earth. He pulled his hand back quickly, but the glow seemed to respond to him. For a moment he thought he saw it pulse like a heartbeat. He stepped back, his breath caught in his chest. The carvings on the walls seemed to shift in the lantern light, as if the painted figures were alive, moving, warning him. He tried to calm himself and began studying the images more carefully. The carvings told a story. The first showed people looking up at the sky as a great red moon rose. The second showed strange shapes descending from the heavens, shapes that looked like ships or objects not made by human hands. The third showed those same people kneeling as if in respect or fear, while the red moon shone brighter. And the fourth showed the golden altar, glowing with crimson light while figures held their hands over it as if drawing power. Aaron touched the carvings gently, tracing the lines with his fingers. He could not help but wonder if this was only myth or if it described something real. The old maps had marked this place as sacred, and now he understood why. The Mayans had hidden this chamber deep in the jungle, guarded by stone and time. His gaze returned to the altar. A small crack ran across its surface, and inside the crack he saw something shining even brighter, a shard of red gold metal embedded within. He felt drawn to it as though the metal itself was calling him. He hesitated, then carefully pulled out a small tool from his bag. With slow and steady hands, he worked at the crack until the shard loosened and fell into his palm. The shard was warm, almost hot, and when he held it, the glow brightened. It pulsed again, and for an instant he thought he heard a faint hum like distant music or the sound of a heartbeat in his ears. He tightened his grip on it and looked around the chamber, half expecting the walls to close in or the ceiling to fall. But nothing happened. The jungle sounds outside seemed far away now, muted as if the chamber itself had pulled him into another world. Aaron slipped the shard into a small pouch and tied it securely to his belt. He felt uneasy but also excited. He had uncovered something that had been hidden for centuries, something that carried meaning beyond simple treasure. This was not gold to be sold or displayed. This was a key to a story far older than his own. He lifted the lantern again and glanced one last time at the altar. The glow had dimmed slightly as if the shard had been its heart. The carvings on the wall seemed to watch him, silent and timeless. He took a deep breath and walked back toward the passage. The jungle air greeted him as he stepped outside once more. The clearing looked the same, but Aaron felt different. He looked at the trees, the sky and the shadows stretching long with the setting sun. The shard pressed against his side, warm and alive, as if reminding him that his journey had only begun. The night was quiet, but Aaron could not sleep. He sat beside the small fire he had built at the edge of the clearing. The flames crackled and sparks rose into the dark sky, but his mind was fixed on the shard of red gold lying in front of him. He had placed it on a flat stone so he could study it under the lantern light. The shard looked alive. Its surface shifted between gold and crimson, as if two colors were fighting each other. At times it glowed brighter when the fire flickered. At other times it seemed to pulse with a rhythm of its own, slow and steady like a living heart. Aaron opened his notebook and began sketching. He drew the shard, then copied some of the carvings from the chamber walls. The red moon, the figures kneeling, the golden altar burning with light. His hand moved quickly as if afraid he would forget the details if he did not put them down fast enough. He paused when he remembered the last carving. The one where the altar glowed crimson and people stood around it, their arms raised. Their faces had not looked peaceful. They had looked afraid. Aaron frowned and leaned back, staring at the dark jungle beyond the firelight. The warnings were there, carved into stone centuries ago. The Mayans had wanted this chamber hidden, sealed away under roots and earth. Why, if the shard was a gift, why hide it? If it was only treasure, why surround it with symbols of the blood moon and figures of fear? He reached for the shard again. The moment his fingers closed around it, a wave of warmth rushed through him. His chest tightened, and for an instant, he thought he saw a faint image in his mind. A great moon hanging red in the sky, and below it, something vast and shining descending to the earth. He dropped the shard quickly, his breath coming fast. The image faded, but the feeling stayed. The shard was not only metal, it was memory. Aaron rubbed his hands together, trying to calm himself. He thought of the stories he had heard about the Mayans, about how their knowledge of stars and time had amazed scholars. Perhaps they had known more than anyone realized. Perhaps the red gold was not of this world. The carvings had shown shapes coming down from the sky. Could it be that long ago visitors had brought this metal here? He shook his head, telling himself not to jump to wild ideas. Yet deep inside, he knew it was possible. The shard did not behave like ordinary gold. It seemed to carry energy, power, and something more, something human hands had never created. The fire burned low, and the sounds of the jungle grew louder. Frogs called from the shadows, and the wings of night birds cut through the air. Aaron placed the shard back into the pouch and tied it tightly. He did not want it lying in the open. Morning came with mist curling between the trees. The air was heavy, and the sunlight struggled to break through the thick canopy. Aaron packed his things, but before leaving the clearing, he returned once more to the chamber. Inside, the air felt even heavier than before. He walked to the altar and looked at the empty crack where the shard had been. The glow was gone, but the carvings seemed sharper now, as if they demanded his attention. He held up the lantern and studied them again. One carving showed people standing in rows looking up at the red moon. Their hands were raised, but this time their faces looked hollow, almost lifeless. Another showed shapes in the sky sending beams of light toward the earth. And then there was one more hidden at the edge of the wall which he had missed before. It showed the golden altar surrounded by flames, but above it, a figure stood tall, holding the shard high. The other figures bowed before him. Aaron's hand tightened on the lantern. The story was changing. The shard could bring power to those who held it, but it also brought fear. The Mayans might have believed it could turn a man into something more than human, someone who could command the chamber itself. But they had also carved warnings, faces of fear, lifeless crowds. Fire consuming everything, he whispered to himself. They tried to hide it for a reason. Yet even as he said the words, the pouch at his belt felt warm again, as if the shard was answering him. Aaron stepped back and left the chamber, but the images stayed in his mind. The red moon, the ships in the sky, the fearful faces. He knew he should return to the city, show the shard to experts, let others decide what it meant. But another part of him, stronger and louder, told him this discovery was his alone. He walked through the jungle with steady steps, the shard pulsing at his side like a heartbeat. The warnings of the past were clear, but curiosity pushed him forward. He had uncovered a secret that had waited for centuries, and now it was his to carry. Aaron did not notice the faint hum that followed him, a sound too low for human ears. Far above the clouds beyond the sky he could see something stirred. The shard's signal was already reaching out, touching the cold silence of space. And in that silence something listened. The night in the jungle was long, and the air pressed heavy on Aaron's skin. He sat in his small tent, the shard lying on the cloth in front of him. He had tried to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes he saw flashes of the red moon and the carvings from the chamber. His heart told him the shard was more than a relic. It was alive. The shard glowed faintly in the dark. Its red light touched the walls of the tent, turning them into thin shadows. Aaron leaned closer, his eyes fixed on it. He whispered to himself, trying to make sense of it. "Why me? Why now?" The shard gave no answer, but its pulse grew stronger. The glow spread across its surface, brightening and fading as if it breathed. Then came the sound. A low hum, soft at first but steady. It rose and fell like the rhythm of a song. Aaron felt it in his chest. His own heartbeat matched it. He reached out with trembling hands and picked it up. The heat did not burn him. Instead, a surge of energy ran through his arm. His lantern flickered and went out, but the shard's glow lit the tent brighter than the fire had. Outside, the jungle grew silent, as if every creature was holding its breath. Aaron's tools on the ground began to rattle. His notebook opened and its pages turned on their own. The compass in his bag spun wildly. Even his radio, which had been broken for days, sparked to life with a burst of static. Aaron dropped the shard in shock, but it did not stop. It lay on the ground, humming louder, its light flashing in waves. The waves spread beyond the tent. The fire outside blazed suddenly high, then lowered as if bowing to the shard's rhythm. The trees swayed without wind. The air grew thick, heavy, and filled with unseen power. Aaron stumbled back, staring. He had read stories of lost treasures and hidden powers, but nothing had prepared him for this. This was no myth. The shard was calling to something, and far above, beyond the clouds, something answered. In the dark space over Earth, a ship stirred. It was not made of steel or stone, but of black crystal that shone faintly against the stars. The ship had drifted silent for ages, its systems asleep, waiting for the signal. Now the pulse of the shard reached it. The red-gold hum filled its halls, and lights returned to life across its surface. Inside the ship, tall figures opened their eyes. Their skin gleamed like obsidian, their movements slow but precise. They turned toward the source of the signal, Earth. With no word spoken, the ship changed course. Back in the jungle, Aaron did not know what he had done. He only knew that the shard was no longer a quiet relic. It was awake. The glow dimmed suddenly and the hum faded. The jungle sounds returned little by little, frogs calling and insects buzzing again. Aaron sat in the silence, his chest still racing. The shard lay still on the ground, its light soft again, almost harmless. But Aaron knew better now. This was not treasure to be admired. It was a beacon, and he had lit it. He picked it up carefully and slipped it back into the pouch. His hands shook, but his eyes were steady. He could not leave it behind. The Mayans had tried to hide it, but the secret had found him. He felt both fear and pride. Whatever this was, it had chosen him. The next morning, he packed his camp. His plan had been to return to the city with his discovery, but now he hesitated. Something told him the city was not safe for this shard. Too many hands would try to take it. Too many eyes would see it only as gold. He decided to stay near the ruins for now. He needed to understand it better, to learn what the carvings had not told him. Perhaps the chamber still held more answers. As he walked back to the clearing, the shard grew warm again at his side. The golden altar seemed to wait for him when he stepped inside. He placed the lantern near the wall and studied the carvings once more. The red moon, the ships descending, the altar glowing. He realized then what the hum had meant. The shard had not only woken the chamber, it had reached beyond Earth. The shapes in the carvings were not myths. They were memories. The Mayans had seen the visitors. They had carved their warning for those who came after. Aaron touched the wall, his fingers resting on the image of the glowing altar. He whispered softly, "They will come back, won't they?" The silence gave no reply, but the shard pulsed again as if agreeing. Far above, the black crystal ship entered Earth's orbit. Its shadow passed across the stars, unseen by the people below. Inside, the tall figures prepared. Their eyes glowed faintly red, reflecting the same light that now rested in Aaron's pouch. The awakening was complete, and the visitors were on their way. The jungle lay quiet under the evening sky. The air was heavy, the shadows long, and the shard at Aaron's side grew warmer with every passing hour. He could feel it pulsing steady and strong, as if counting down to something unseen. Aaron stood near the clearing where the ruins rested. He had returned again and again to the golden altar, searching for meaning in the carvings, but the story carved into stone gave only pieces. A red moon, beings from the sky, the golden altar burning with power. The shard seemed to be the key, but he still did not know what door it opened. That night, as he sat near his small fire, the silence of the jungle broke. A low rumble came from above, soft at first but growing louder. Aaron looked up through the gaps in the trees. The stars, which had always seemed so distant, were gone in one patch of sky. Something vast and dark blocked them. The sound grew deeper. Leaves shook. Animals scattered, their cries filling the night. Aaron rose to his feet, his eyes wide. A shape descended slowly, black against the moonlit sky. It was like no machine he had ever seen. Its surface glistened like crystal, smooth and sharp at the same time, catching the faint light of the moon. It did not roar like a plane. It did not glow like fire. It moved with silence, its power hidden but its presence heavy. The jungle itself seemed to bow as the ship landed at the edge of the ruins, crushing trees and soil under its weight. Aaron's breath caught. He clutched the pouch at his side. The shard was burning hot now, and he could feel its hum echoing with the ship's descent. From the dark surface of the ship, a ramp unfolded, smooth as flowing water. Figures stepped out, tall and lean, their skin black and shining like obsidian. Their eyes glowed faintly red in the shadows. They moved with slow grace, not rushing, not stumbling, but walking as if they owned the ground beneath their feet. Aaron froze, his heart pounding. He wanted to hide, but his legs would not move. The shard seemed to hold him still. The tall beings spread out in the clearing, their glowing eyes falling on the golden altar. One of them raised a long arm and pointed. The altar glowed faintly as if answering the gesture. Then all at once their eyes turned toward Aaron. He felt the weight of their gaze pressing on him. His chest tightened, but he forced himself to step forward. His voice shook as he called out, "Who are you?" The tallest of them stepped closer. Its voice was deep but clear, carrying no anger, only calm strength. "We are the keepers of the crimson metal. You hold what belongs to us." Aaron's hand moved to the pouch. The shard pulsed at the words as if alive. "This was hidden for centuries," he said, trying to steady his voice. "The people who carved these walls wanted it sealed away. If it was yours, why did they fear it?" The tall being tilted its head. "They were not ready. We gave the gift too soon. The red moon burned, and they could not carry the burden. So they buried it, hiding it from their own kind." Another figure stepped forward. Its voice was sharper, edged with warning. "The shard is not yours to keep. Return it before it calls more than you can bear." Aaron shook his head. "No, this was left on Earth. It was found by human hands. It belongs to us now." The sharp-voiced figure's eyes brightened. "You do not understand the danger. The shard is alive. It calls and others will hear it. If you keep it, your world will suffer." Aaron's grip tightened on the pouch. He thought of the carvings, of the faces carved in fear, of the lifeless figures standing under the red moon. Perhaps they spoke truth. Perhaps the shard brought only ruin. But something inside him refused to let go. He raised his chin. "Maybe you gave it. Maybe they feared it. But now it has awakened with me. That means it is not yours anymore. It chose me." The tall leader's red eyes dimmed slightly as if surprised by his words. For a long moment, silence filled the clearing. Then the leader spoke again, slowly. "You believe you are ready for its power?" Aaron did not answer at once. The shard pulsed again, strong and steady, almost like it agreed. He took a deep breath. "Yes, humanity has changed since the Mayans. We are not afraid to stand." The sharp-voiced figure hissed low, but the leader raised a hand, stopping it. The leader stepped closer to Aaron, its height towering over him. "Then prove it. But know this power that burns crimson will test you. If you fail, your people will pay the cost." The ship behind them hummed softly, its crystal surface glowing faintly red. Aaron felt the warning in those words, but he also felt pride rising in his chest. This was no longer a hidden story of the past. It was now his story and humanity's story. The visitors from the sky had returned, and the shard had chosen its bearer. The night grew still again, but the silence was heavier than before. The test had begun. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. Aaron stood in the clearing, the shard burning hot in his hand. The visitors from the sky had stopped, their glowing red eyes watching him closely. The crystal ship behind them pulsed faintly, as if responding to the energy the shard now emitted. Aaron felt a surge of warmth move through him, starting from his fingers and spreading to his chest and legs. The shard pulsed faster, its glow brighter, and he could hear a low hum in his ears, stronger than before. He realized that the metal was not just a relic, it was alive, and it responded to him. The leader of the visitors stepped forward. "Do you understand what you hold?" it asked, voice calm but filled with authority. "The crimson metal is not for humans. It burns with power beyond your kind." Aaron held the shard tightly. "I understand more than you think. This chamber, the carvings, everything tells a story. It waited for someone to awaken it. That someone is me." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Very well. If you claim it, you must bear its weight." Suddenly, the shard exploded in light. The crimson glow enveloped Aaron, wrapping around him like a burning cloak. The ground beneath him trembled, and the air grew hot. The carvings in the chamber seemed to come alive. Stone columns vibrated and shadows danced across the walls, making the jungle beyond the clearing disappear in red light. The visitors moved cautiously, raising their arms, but the shard pulsed with a force they had never seen. Aaron felt no pain. Instead, he felt strength coursing through him. His muscles grew taut and alert. His mind sharpened, thoughts and instincts aligning as if he could sense everything around him. He looked at the crystal ship. Its smooth surface reflected the red light, and for a moment, the visitor's confident posture wavered. They had underestimated humans. The shard had chosen him, and it had awakened fully because of him. Aaron raised his hands, and the chamber seemed to respond. Waves of energy rippled from the altar, spreading outward. Trees bent and swayed as if caught in a storm, yet no wind moved. The jungle hummed, vibrating with a new life. Rocks lifted slightly from the ground, drawn by invisible force. The leader of the visitors took a cautious step forward. "This is impossible. The shard should respond only to our kind," it said, voice filled with shock. Aaron felt the shard pulse faster in his hand. He realized he could control it, at least a little. He lifted it higher, and the energy concentrated around him, forming a sphere of red-gold light. The visitors took a step back, their confidence gone. "You see now," Aaron said, voice steady, "this power can be used by humans. We are not weak. We are strong, and we can protect this world with it." The air around him grew hotter. The glowing light shaped itself into forms that mirrored the carvings he had seen. The red moon, the altar, and figures standing tall with the shard in hand. The energy was not chaotic. It followed his thoughts, his will, and it reinforced his belief that humanity could master it. The visitors whispered among themselves, their voices tense. They realized that their centuries of control had ended. The shard, once dormant, now recognized a new master. Aaron felt a sudden connection to the chamber itself. Stone and metal, carvings and altar all seemed to respond to his presence. He stepped closer to the altar, the light from the shard merging with the faint crimson glow of the gold. The carvings on the wall shimmered as if alive, and the images of kneeling figures seemed to bow to him. "You will leave," he said firmly, turning to the visitors. "The shard has chosen a new path. This is our world now. Humanity will decide what happens next." The visitors hesitated. Their leader stepped forward, then paused, its red eyes lowering slightly. "We underestimated your kind," it admitted. "The power burns crimson with your blood and will. We will leave, but remember this warning. Power such as this tests those who hold it. Do not fail." With that, the crystal ship lifted silently. The ramp folded back and the vessel began to rise, its black crystal surface reflecting the crimson light of the shard. Within moments, it vanished into the night sky, leaving only the faint echo of its hum. Aaron lowered the shard, now glowing softly in his hands. The jungle slowly returned to normal. Trees stopped bending, the air cooled, and the creatures resumed their night calls. Yet the chamber, the altar, and the shard remained alive with quiet energy. Aaron knew the moment had changed everything. He had felt the burning power of the crimson gold and survived. He had become stronger, faster, and more aware. The shard had chosen humanity through him, and the visitors from the sky had acknowledged it. He placed the shard back in the pouch and tied it securely. His eyes moved over the altar one last time. The carvings glimmered faintly in the lantern light. The red moon, The figures and the golden altar were no longer warnings alone. They were proof of what could be achieved if humans dared to rise. Aaron stepped outside the chamber. The night air was cool and stars shone above, though faint clouds moved across them. The jungle seemed peaceful now, but he knew the shard had changed the balance of power. The universe had noticed Earth. Humanity had awakened a force that was both dangerous and magnificent. For the first time, Aaron felt the true responsibility of holding the shard. He knew this power could protect or destroy. It could challenge the stars themselves, and he would make sure humanity was ready. The burning power had awakened, and so had its new master. The jungle was alive with a strange energy. Aaron walked carefully toward the clearing, the shard secure in his pouch. He could feel its warmth pressing against his side, pulsing steadily like a heartbeat. The events of the previous night had left him both amazed and cautious. The visitors from the sky had retreated, but Aaron knew it was only temporary. The shard's awakening had sent a signal that could not be ignored. He returned to the chamber, lantern in hand. The golden altar still glowed faintly, its crimson light soft but steady. The carvings on the walls seemed sharper, more vivid, as if the energy of the shard had awakened their true power. Aaron studied them carefully, tracing the shapes with his fingers. The red moon, the figures kneeling, the ships in the sky, and finally the image of a figure holding the shard high, standing tall while others bowed. He felt a shiver run through him. This time he understood the message. The shard had chosen him, yes, but it had also chosen humanity. The carvings were proof. Humans could rise, claim the power, and use it with purpose. Aaron lifted the shard from his pouch. Its warmth spread through his hands, through his arms, and into his chest. He raised it toward the ceiling, and the chamber responded immediately. The altar glowed brighter. The columns hummed. Shadows danced along the walls, forming shapes that mimicked the carvings. Figures kneeling, then standing tall. The energy was no longer chaotic. It followed his will, and he realized that he could control it. Outside, the air began to shimmer. The jungle seemed to lean closer, as if listening. Then came the sound, a low rumble unlike anything Aaron had heard before. From the sky, the black crystal ship appeared once again. This time, it moved with purpose, descending toward the clearing at great speed. The visitors from the sky had returned, and they were not alone. Aaron did not panic. He lifted the shard higher, and a wave of crimson energy spread outward, creating a shield around the chamber. The ground trembled beneath the landing ship, but the energy held. Trees bent without breaking. Rocks lifted slightly, forming a barrier. The shard's power responded to his thoughts, to his will, and it was strong. The visitors stepped out, their glowing red eyes scanning the clearing. They moved with caution this time, aware of the energy Aaron now commanded. The leader spoke, its voice calm but firm. "You have awakened the shard fully. We warned you. Its power is immense. Surrender it, and your world will be spared." Aaron shook his head, voice steady. "I will not surrender it. This is humanity's power now. We have been chosen to carry it, and we will use it wisely. You cannot take it back." The visitors hesitated, exchanging silent words. Then they advanced. Aaron raised the shard, and the chamber responded instantly. Crimson energy wrapped around him, forming a protective sphere. Beams of light shot outward, striking the ground, the trees, and the edges of the landing ship. The visitors' weapons were repelled by the energy, unable to penetrate the shield. Aaron stepped forward, feeling the shard's power flowing through him. He realized he could do more than protect. He could command the chamber itself. Stone columns lifted slightly, moving to block paths. The ground shifted, forming walls and ridges that slowed the visitors. Crimson flames rose from the altar, controlled and precise, forcing the visitors to retreat step by step. The leader watched, eyes wide with disbelief. "Impossible," it whispered. "The shard should not respond to humans this way. They were not meant to wield it fully." Aaron's voice rang out clear and strong. "Humans are stronger than you believed. This power is ours, and we will defend it. Leave now, and no harm will come to your people." The visitors exchanged one last glance. Then slowly they retreated. The black crystal ship lifted into the night sky, vanishing as silently as it had arrived. The hum of its engines faded, leaving only the soft glow of the altar and the shard in Aaron's hands. Aaron lowered the shard, breathing heavily. He looked around the clearing. The trees swayed gently, the jungle slowly returning to normal. The chamber behind him glimmered faintly, but it was no longer silent. It hummed softly, as if acknowledging that its power had found a new master. He stepped outside, the warm night air filling his lungs. The stars shone brightly above, and for the first time Aaron felt the weight of responsibility fully. The shard had chosen humanity. The visitors from the sky had recognized it, and the world would never be the same again. Aaron knew that the shard's power was both a gift and a test. He had proven that humans could wield it, but the future remained uncertain. The carvings, the chamber, and the golden altar had all shown the way, and now it was humanity's turn to rise. As he looked at the glowing shard, he whispered, "We are ready. The crimson power belongs to us, and we will protect it." The jungle seemed to agree, alive with quiet energy as if celebrating the new dawn. Humanity had claimed the shard, and the legacy of the red gold power had begun. The stars watched silently, knowing that Earth had awakened something that could change the galaxy. The first light of dawn broke over the jungle, casting golden streaks across the trees in the clearing where the chamber lay. Aaron stood at the edge, the shard secure in his hands. Its red gold glow was soft now, calm yet alive. The events of the past days weighed on him. The visitors from the sky had come, the shard had awakened, and humanity had claimed its power. But the real journey, he knew, was just beginning. Aaron returned to the chamber one last time. The golden altar glimmered faintly in the morning light. The carvings on the wall seemed sharper than ever, each line telling the story of the red moon, the beings from the stars, and the power hidden beneath centuries of earth and jungle. The chamber hummed gently, acknowledging its new master. He studied the images carefully. The figures in the carvings had once knelt in fear, but now they seemed to stand taller, their arms reaching out toward the crimson light. Aaron understood the meaning clearly. The power of the shard could awaken greatness, but it also demanded responsibility. Humans had the chance to rise, to shape the future, and to show the universe that Earth was not to be ignored. The jungle around him stirred. Birds called, leaves rustled, and a soft wind carried the smell of wet earth. Yet the air felt different, charged with energy. The shard pulsed against his side, a reminder that its power was alive, aware and responsive to him. Aaron thought of the visitors from the sky. They had come with warnings expecting humans to fail. Instead, humanity had stood firm. They had proved that they could wield power and protect it. The visitors had recognized it and retreated, leaving the world in human hands. The galaxy, he realized, was watching now. He stepped outside the chamber and looked up at the sky. The red moon was rising, faint and distant, a reminder of the history that had brought him here. The carvings had warned of the danger and the test, but they had also left hope. Aaron felt a deep connection to those who had come before. The Mayans who had hidden the chamber and left behind the knowledge that humanity might one day awaken the power. The shard pulsed once, sharply, as if acknowledging his thoughts. Aaron smiled faintly. He understood now that it was not a weapon, not a tool, but a partner. Its energy could protect, guide, and strengthen, but it also required wisdom and courage. He had both, and he would not fail. Far above the Earth, beyond the clouds and stars, the black crystal ship lingered at the edge of the planet's orbit. The visitors watched silently, no longer hostile but wary. They had underestimated humans, and now they had proof. The shard had chosen a new master, and humanity had risen to the challenge. Aaron felt the shard hum gently in his hands. He lifted it toward the sky, and for a moment the red gold light spread outward, touching the trees, the chamber, and the jungle beyond. The energy felt warm, protective, and alive. It was a promise that humanity could rise, could protect its world, and could face whatever challenges the universe might bring. He walked back to the altar, placing the shard carefully on its surface. The metal glimmered, the crimson light reflecting off the golden gold. The chamber seemed to hum in approval, as if recognizing that the legacy had been claimed and a new chapter had begun. Aaron knew that the shard's power would not remain hidden forever. The galaxy would remember Earth now. Other worlds would watch, other beings would come, curious or cautious. But humanity had proven itself worthy. The test was not over, but the first step had been taken. He stepped outside the chamber again, breathing in the fresh morning air. The jungle seemed brighter, alive with a new energy, as if celebrating the dawn of a new era. Aaron looked at the shard resting on the altar, its glow steady and calm. It was no longer just a relic of the past. It was the key to the future. Aaron whispered softly, "This is our world now. We will protect it. We will rise, The shard pulsed once gently like a heartbeat. The red gold light spread faintly into the chamber, filling the space with warmth and quiet strength. It was a symbol, a promise, and a reminder that power was not simply taken. It was earned, nurtured, and respected. The Crimson Legacy had begun. Humanity had awakened, the chamber had recognized its new masters, and the galaxy would never forget the day the red gold shard chose Earth. Aaron turned from the chamber, the sun climbing higher, and walked back through the jungle. He carried the knowledge of the past, the power of the shard, and the hope of the future. Humanity's story was no longer hidden. It had begun under the light of the blood moon, and it would shine far beyond the stars. The jungle whispered around him, alive with history, power, and promise. And the red gold light of the shard glimmered softly, a beacon for the legacy that had only just begun.